Hey guys, today I'm going to solve some free quiz questions and from our API 510 pressure vessel inspector full course. This is free for all, so you can try it here. This is 60 hours credit hours CPD accredited, continuing professional development, 8 hours of video, 208 lectures, 1300 questions, and 3500 flashcards. 120 days, 24/7 course access with online support through our WhatsApp or email. You can contact us and pass first time or free renewal. Okay, let's go to our free quiz and see some of the questions. You can share this post and you can try your knowledge. I've already solved the question, so we quickly go through that. Number one, which of the following types of discontinuities is not normally detected by radiography? So the correct answer is lamination. The reason is that radiography works on volumes. So practically the X-rays or gamma rays pass through the metal, and some of them get absorbed by the base metal. Now you have, if you have porosity or a slag, so that area where you have defects, the material is not dense. For example, in porosity is just a bubble, or a slag is just a weld deposit. So the density is far less than the actual base metal. So more X-rays or gamma rays pass through that. So as a result, you see a lighter version of that brightness on the radiographs. The only exception would be gas tungsten arc welding, where you have got tungsten inclusion of the electrode tip, and tungsten is a very, very dense material, denser than any practically any other base metal, and hence see them as darker. So normally you see anything brighter than the surrounding area, that's a defect or an indication you can see. Now, in case of lamination, there is not much space between two parts which are not fused during the pipe manufacturing or plate manufacturing, and hence it's very hard to see the lamination in radiography. And the best NDT technique would be UT. Okay. Obviously MT, PT, and RT, and VT also you cannot see because the lamination is always inside through the thickness, inside the vessel, the plate. Next question. API 510 shall not be used as a substitute for original construction of pressure vessel before it's placed in service. It's always used, is applicable when the vessel is placed in service. For construction code, you should see what is applicable. It could be ASME section 8 normally, or it could be the European equivalent of Pressure Equipment Directive PED, which is PD 5500, or the local jurisdictional rules. But 510 only applies once the vessel is in service. Okay. So we got this, if you haven't answered it, it will ask you to answer it. And we have got this percentage of the progress. All our questions are timed. The quizzes are not timed, but just take your time. So compared to ASTM 515 grade 60, the 516 grade 60 plates have better tensile strength. So the A stands for ferrous metal. The 60 means 60,000 psi is the strength. Here you see everything is same except this is 515 and this is 516. So that 16 is about a finer grain structure, so it's got better fracture toughness. So remember, if it's a coarse grain, the fracture toughness is less. A finer grain, you got more ductility and more fracture toughness. Who establishes inspection interval? Normally it's done by inspector. Anyway, it should be approved by inspector, because eventually inspector is going to certify that the vessel is fit for purpose. And by inspector, we mean an API authorized pressure vessel inspector who has passed the exam. Now, the ultimate responsibility of maintenance, operation, and safety of the vessel lies with the owner. So eventually, it's the owner user or the inspector on behalf of the owner user. ASME Section 5 Division 1 is based on safety factor. So previously it was 4 with better production and quality control. It's been 3.5 presently, the safety factor. If you want to do Division 2, then it's 4, but for Division 1, it's 3.5. Most of the vessels are made according to Division 1. Division 2 is more onerous. Question 6, identify incorrect statements. So here you be careful that there are 3 statements which are correct. So you're looking for 1 which is not correct. So read the question carefully. So the answer 1 is welding performance performing procedure test is also qualified in that position. That means a welder who does the test coupon to qualify a WPS in preparation for PQR. Obviously, if it passes, then in that position that he has welded, he is also qualified the welder. This, the ASME Section 9 allows this. Now, supplementary essential variables become essential variables when impact test is specified. That's also correct. Answer 3 says, for procedure qualification, test should be performed in any position, as the position is not essential variable for WPS or for procedure qualification. That is correct. I mean, there are some exceptions, but you don't need to know about this because you're not being asked to go that much detail into welding engineering as a API 510 inspector. So we can assume safely that yes, welding position is not an essential variable normally for WPS. And the last answer, which is incorrect, is WPS and WPQ have the same qualification requirements. That's incorrect because the reason for WPS to qualify it is to demonstrate that the weld that has been designed is actually can have the required strength. Okay. Whereas for welder performance qualification, you want to see that actually the welder can deposit a sound weld. Okay, so the qualification requirements are different. For the PQR for WPS is an strength test, whereas for WPQ it can be a radiographic RT radiography, or it could be a bend test. So to see that the welder can actually deposit a sound weld. So because the purpose is different, so the qualification is different. Next question. A516 grade 70, the letter A is ferrous metal. Now, if you want to know more, then ASTM general classification, A is for ferrous, B for non-ferrous, and rest for others. But mostly you can see that you always deal with material with A, ASTM A, which is for ferrous metal. If you want to know more, we have put an explanation here, but this is not required for the exam. Symbol which indicates ASME code stamping for vessel manufactured to ASME Section 8 Division 1 is U stamp. So U1 is the form that the manufacturer fills in for the vessel, and U2 is for the part manufacturer. We have no U3, and it's always U stamp. What will be the applicable mandatory edition if a vessel is manufactured and was signed off on 14 December 2011. Now, once a mandatory edition is published, normally on January, there is 6 months grace period where it can be applied, so maximum 6 months. So if it is done December 2011 and you could look at this edition, so 2011 edition will apply because it's done in January and December is like 11 months here, okay? The term E, used in shell thickness, represent weld joint efficiency whose value is equal to 1. Now, when it will become equal to 1, it depends on the percentage of radiography. Now, longitudinal welds are under more stress. They are like double the stress than the circumferential weld, and so they are always more onerous on any standard you can see. So if longitudinal weld should be fully radiographed, but circumferential weld need to be spot radiograph in order to have an efficiency of 1. Next question, restoration work. So repair is always a restoration work. We don't have anything as renewal work, and alteration means a change in integrity operating window or in change in design or whatever. So that's called alteration. Re-rating is an outcome of alteration, which means an increase or a decrease in any integrity operating window parameters. So a repair is always a restoration. In certain empty check, you found an indication, and by visual observation, you found out that it was seen as 4 millimeter, okay? And the acceptance criteria is, say, 3 millimeter. Now you did a magnifying glass, you did more with closer scrutiny, you found out actually is 2.5 millimeter, it's not 4. Should you accept it or reject it? Now look, if you change your visual from a naked eye to a magnifying glass, or you should change your measurements. So this is an essential parameter first in MT procedure or any ND procedure. So you have to go by the procedure. If it says naked eye and you have measured it to be 4 millimeter, then it's rejectable. Now, if you've done a magnifying glass and you found out, yeah, it's below the acceptance criteria, the maximum, then you cannot accept it because you cannot change the essential parameter, okay? Unless you requalify and have work to another procedure. So you should always work by the book. ASME code records averaging of impact test. So this is straight away 3. You go to any code B31.3, ASME section 8, or API 510. It always says that the set of impact tests should have 3 specimens, okay? Sharpie test specimens for toughness. Stainless steel weld has a crack on this, open to the surface. So if it's open to the surface, the most sensitive one is actually liquid penetrant. And now UT, probably you might not get it because UT cannot, is not very good on detecting defects close to the surface or on the surface, okay, open to the surface. Whereas radiography, I mean, it's more expensive, and anyway, liquid penetrant is more accurate on this case compared to magnetic particle. The magnetic particle does surface defects or open very close to the surface, okay? But liquid penetrant only does defects that are open to the surface. That's it. But then it's also very sensitive and very more effective to do that. PQR document normally be revised and resubmitted for acceptance. This is false. PQR is contains the actual parameters that you use during qualification on the test coupon, the voltage, amperage, heat input, preheat, and the type of electrode used, the position used, and all this. But and the tensile test or any Sharpie test you have done. So it's actually a record of facts. So you cannot revise it. There might be a minor typo error that you want to revise it. That's okay, but that's it. You cannot revise a PQR. But you can always revise a WPS, but only the non-essential parameters. If you want to revise the WPS with essential parameters, you have to requalify to WPS, so that you need a fresh PQR. For PQR, essential, non-essential parameters, that's actually what happened. And it's a table of facts and figures and records and test reports, so you cannot revise it. Hot tapping, so you should know what hot tapping is. There might be several answers here that you can see. Hot tapping is when you want to drill a hole and then, a connection while the vessel is in service, is under pressure, okay? So that's called hot tapping. Which of the following represent grouping of weldment? Now he's asking about the weldment. So P number is for base metal, F number for filler metal. There is no S number. A number is for weldment, grouping of weldment, which is a combination of weld deposit and diluted with the base metal, okay? An inspector should be stricter while carrying on inspection on longitudinal joint. So always you can see that longitudinal joint is the deciding parameter when calculating the inspection interval and the joint strength and the design calculations, because you got the hoop stress test, because it's all, if you look at the formulas for joint thickness versus the pressure for longitudinal joint is almost twice of a circumferential joint. So, and you all can also see in ASME section 8 that the acceptance criteria is more onerous for longitudinal. So you should be more careful with longitudinal joints. PT examination is used to detect surfaces, cracks in welds as well as in base metal. For proper detection, we should allow higher penetration time of base metal or plates than welds. So the reason is that the base metal is very smooth, whereas the weld invariably they got ripples and they are not as smooth as the base metal. So when you got ripples, the penetrant moves faster. When it is a very smooth surface, it takes more time for penetrant to go into that voids and holes and any defects. Okay, so you need more time for the give more time to penetrant to penetrate the base metal because it's more smoother compared to welds. And last question is weld joint category. When you're talking about category, it's always location of the weld. So it doesn't matter what sort of weld it is it a V joint, U joint, single bolt, double bolt, butt joint, full penetration, partial penetration, that's a type of weld, okay? So for the category means location of weld, because for example, for longitudinal joints, as we said, you got more stress involved here, so you need more radiography, or you have to be more careful in design and repair, and so compared to circumferential or nozzle to shell joints and all that. So the weld joint category, it always depends on the location of the weld, where the weld is located. Thank you very much. You can also see all your, just type your email and you receive a copy of this in your email.